Hi everyone, and welcome to my presentation on the art of persuasion. My name's Matt Alder. I run a company called MetaShift. We are a management consultant helping large employers with recruitment innovation. I also run a company called 3Sparks, which is a mobile software recruiting platform. This is a presentation that I originally did at the RecFest conference, and I just wanted to re-record it and share with you my thoughts on why I think there's a persuasion problem in recruitment marketing today. So, this is what I'm going to talk about. First of all, I'm going to talk about this persuasion problem and what I think it is. I'm going to talk a little bit about persuasion in the digital age, and then I want to give a really concrete example of persuasion in action. So whole presentation is going to be 15 or 20 minutes, and it really is just to give a flavour of what I think is the most important issue facing recruitment marketing and recruitment communications at the moment. So let's talk about the persuasion problem that there is. And this is really all about companies getting the right people to apply for the right jobs at the right time at its most basic level. Now, I think that currently in 2014 we have a bit of a problem with this. It's a real issue facing in-house recruiters and marketers. Part of the reason is most of the last 5 or 6 years, most employers have been recruiting reactively. They've been replacing people. They haven't proactively been going out and filling huge amounts of vacancies. Now, by talking to various clients of mine, this really appears to have changed at the moment, and I know that a number of you out there are looking at running sustained campaigns to expand your businesses and recruit more people. Now, you may or may not have more budget to do that, and therein sort of lies the problem. So the whole concept of proactive recruitment and going out there and using persuasive techniques to get candidates to your vacancies may be something that companies haven't had to do for a few years. In that time, the old ways of doing things have really changed. So this is a quote from I did a focus group with some very senior job seekers recently, and this was from a finance director when we were talking about what they thought about recruitment marketing techniques helping them in their job search. And she was very clear that she didn't believe a word she said on employers career sites. The whole audience that I was talking to considered that it was just spin, and it wasn't the real story about what it's like to work at the company. So it's a fact of life these days that actually what's being said about your organisation on Glassdoor is probably on sites like Glassdoor or in conversations on Facebook or whatever it is. Is more important perhaps than the marketing that you put out yourselves. Interestingly, at the conference that I did this presentation at, there was talk of candidates actually turning up with printouts of the Glassdoor reviews of particular employers and actually wanting the negative points addressed during the interview. So it just kind of shows you what's kind of going on out there. And I think this old ways not working is kind of a really important point. I know that a number of employers who do have budget to employ all these new people to their organisation are throwing money at sort of traditional recruitment websites and traditional EVPs and the kind of things that they were doing 5 or 6 years ago. In fact, in some cases, projects that have been on hold for 5 or 6 years that they're just now reactivating. And it's important to consider just how much the world has changed, in the time between. One of the biggest drivers of change is the shift to mobile. Mobile devices, 1.7 billion mobiles sold in 2012. Wide predictions that later this year, browsing on the mobile internet will overtake browsing on the desktop internet. So lots of clients I'm working with have been getting anywhere between 30% and 60% of the traffic that comes to their careers website coming from the mobile mobile devices. So really important when you're thinking about how you're persuading people to join your organization. They might not be able to see all the kind of whiz and bangs that you've put into your career site because they're using a mobile device, and you need to think about targeting them perhaps in a different way. One of the biggest things that have come out of this is the real sort of changing nature of text-only communications on the internet. So recruitment's always been powered by text, job descriptions, job postings, adverts in newspapers. It was all about clever copy and how you could sell your role. Now, long form copy, or copy that frankly isn't interesting, which unfortunately is most job postings, which tend to be just straight lifts from the job description, really don't work on mobile devices. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg came out recently and said that Facebook was actually changing its algorithm. So anyone who has any company that has a Facebook page, if they're just putting text only communication on that page, it's highly unlikely it will be seen by any of the people who like that page. And this is really a kind of a drive towards pictures, a drive towards video, a drive towards more dynamic and interesting content that catches people's attention on a mobile device, and it's a kind of a really important consideration. The other thing is noise. There is a huge amount of advertising and things going on. Even when you're targeting the best candidates on LinkedIn, I was doing some work with a client of mine a few months ago, and they were finding that the candidates they were targeting were already being targeted by all of their competitors at the same time. And it's just thinking about what can you do to stand out from that, noise and get your message, get your message across, and really sort of persuade people that you're the employer they should be joining. And this comes to the last point about persuading the right people. I know that most in-house recruiters are incredibly busy this year. They're trying to do more with less. Dealing with lots and lots of things, jobs to fill, all that sort of stuff. Now, I know a number of organisations are still getting, what they describe as far too many irrelevant applications. People applying for jobs who are not skilled for the role. So when I talk about persuasion, sometimes people worry and say, "Well, hang on a minute. I'm already getting too many candidates. I don't want any more candidates." This isn't about getting more candidates. It's about getting the right candidates. And if you're getting, far too many irrelevant candidates coming through your recruitment process, you have a persuasion problem, because you're not allowing those candidates to, you're not persuading them to deselect themselves and not apply in the process. Now, some people will apply whatever, but I would be surprised if every employer out there couldn't improve the quality of applications they have coming through by looking really, really carefully at how persuasion works through their recruitment communications. The next thing I just want to talk about is I want to give you just a little idea around a framework that I've developed for persuasion in the digital age. So this is the problem that we have. There's a real broken funnel in terms of recruitment marketing. And when you sort of analyze the data and look deeply into it, job advertising and recruitment marketing, in terms of the efficiencies and qualities of conversions, it's the most inefficient form of marketing that there is. So, look at some of the stats here. You have candidates, interested talent coming through, from social media, from job boards, all the places where you're putting your recruitment message, or people that you're approaching directly on LinkedIn, then going to try and find out more about the organization. On arriving at a corporate career site, most corporate career sites don't target or work properly on mobile. Even sites that have been built to be fully responsive are not necessarily, working hard enough to differentiate that mobile audience and give them the right experience. So between 40% of that audience who turns up, they're either going to have no experience or a bad experience on the site, because the way you've built the site doesn't match the device you're on. regardless of that, most people who arrive at recruitment websites leave straight away anyway, because there's not enough calls to action, there's not enough targeted information around what they're looking for. So typically only 3% of those people apply for a job, and very often those 3% might not be the most relevant people. So we find that 0.1% of those 3% might turn out to actually be suitable hires for the company. So £3 billion globally gets spent on recruitment marketing and pushing traffic down these broken funnels. So I want to give you 3 considerations, the DNA of digital persuasion, to think about when you're when you're kind of shaping your strategy to target the right hires for your organization. The first point is being magnetic. Are you attracting the right talent to your messages, to your calls to action, to your recruitment process? And it's really important to be honest and think about that properly. If you've got key skill shortage areas, what happens when you go to your corporate careers site? Are you flagging that up, or are those skill shortage areas just lost in the general melee of the content that's on there? So that's the first thing, being magnetic. The second thing is being convincing. It's like, how do you sell your company as an employer? Now, I mentioned Glassdoor and various and spin and things like that at the start of the presentation, and really being convincing could be harnessing the persuasive power of your employees and their stories, to get people to want to work for the company. So more of that in other presentations, but being convincing is really important. And then the final thing is all about conversion. Once you've attracted the right people to your messaging, you've convinced them with a brilliant storytelling and brilliant content. You then have to convert them. So having the right calls to action, having a recruitment process that you can at least start on a mobile phone. These things are really, really important. So to me, they're the kind of three key bits of the DNA of digital persuasion. Now, in this presentation, I wanted to give a really concrete example and a method that you can use to sort of improve, and evaluate the communications you've got out there already. So, one of my favourite books is this book, Made to Stick, written by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. If you've not read it, I'd highly recommend it. It kind of forms the basis of a course on persuasion that's taught at Harvard. It's a really accessible book, and it's full of really interesting examples and really great ideas. And in that book, they have a persuasion framework that spells out the word success, and what it says is the most persuasive content ideas that really stick, they're simple, they're unexpected, they're concrete, they're credible, they're emotional, and they tell a story. So simple, easy to understand, you get them straight away as soon as you see them. Unexpected, they catch you by surprise, they cut through the noise, they really make you sort of sit up and pay attention. Concrete, you got a really, really good idea of what they're asking for you, and what response that you need to make, and there's a real kind of concreteness to the idea that's being put across. Credible, is it coming from a credible source? Is it believable? Emotional, humans won't take action without having some kind of emotional response first. So emotion isn't something that you talk about very often necessarily in business communications, but it's incredibly important, and particularly important, I think, in recruitment, where you're persuading people to make very big decisions that affect all parts of their life in terms of changing job, and that's always going to be emotional. So creating that emotional reaction is important. And then finally, and I've mentioned this several times already, telling this as a story is important in terms of getting it across. So I want to give you a really kind of firm example of this framework in action to hang these ideas off. And it's a recruitment advert. It's a bit of recruitment communication from, I think it's back in 2012. There's videos on it. It's all over the web if you want to kind of look it up. And it was a bit of recruitment communication that was done by IKEA in Australia for a store opening in Sydney. So the first thing you can see is what they did, which was very clever, is they shaped a recruitment advert to look like those those instructions you get in IKEA furniture, instructions that don't often make very much sense, but there's a real sort of power in the brand there, and on its own it's a great bit of recruitment communications. Now, on its own, though, I don't think it meets all of our success framework, and I think that the thing that really drove this home was the fact they distributed it actually within their flat pack furniture. So 5,500 sort of boxes of furniture had these career instructions put in them, and that's really unexpected. That's really interesting. It was passed on. People took pictures of it. People talked about it, and it kind of really got moving as an idea. And it's an idea that we're still talking about 2 or 3 years later. So I think this really, really meets the criteria I've talked about. It's simple. It's basically four pictures in a paragraph and a website call to action. Definitely unexpected. If you're opening your Billy bookcase or whatever it is you've bought from IKEA, you're not expecting to see a recruitment advert. You're expecting to see instructions on how to build it. It's certainly concrete. Very, very, very clear messaging, very, very clear call to action, and you can actually hold it in your hand as a bit of paper. Credible, absolutely credible. Credible in terms of how it's been delivered. It's in the IKEA furniture, and credibility from IKEA's consumer brand, and it's kind of certainly emotional as well. You're going to have an emotional reaction to it, whether it's kind of surprise or joy, or even just annoyance if you're trying to find the action instructions to build your bookcase. But you're not going to be able to ignore it, basically. And it certainly delivers it as a story. I mean, there's a story, in the sort of advert itself, but also we're still telling stories about it 2 or 3 years later, and I see this example coming up time and time again. So, just a concrete example and a concrete story to really show you how this success persuasion framework can really work for you. And then just to summarise, as I said, I delivered this at the RecFest conference in June 2014, and afterwards there was a kind of a group discussion around the various tables of the issues that were raised in the presentation, and these are the issues that I really want to flag up. And I think if you've watched all of this presentation, these are the things you should be thinking about for your organisation. And obviously, my company MetaShift would love to help you with any of these issues. But regardless of that, they're definitely worth thinking about and talking through with whatever recruitment communications partner you use. So firstly, do you have a persuasion problem? Are you getting the right people to your recruitment communications, the right people into your business, people that you hire, who stay, who bring value to the company, who achieve your resourcing objectives? Conversely, are you absolutely swamped with the wrong kind of applications, and you're losing the good people in that kind of noise? So do you have a persuasion problem? Secondly, how does your funnel work? How does your recruitment persuasion funnel, how is it put together? Is it something that you've thought about before? Is it magnetic? Does it convince people? Does it convert people? They're the three things to think about. Remember the digital persuasion DNA. So how can you be magnetic, convincing, and drive conversion from the right audience? And then finally, referencing the book again, is your message made to stick? Does it kind of follow through that success framework? Is it unexpected? Is it simple? Is it concrete? Is it credible? Is it emotional? And is it a story? So some key issues there. I hope you found use in the presentation. If you want to ask me any questions or get in contact to discuss it, you can email me at matt@metashift.co.uk. Thank you very much for your time.